The soft hum of the spacecraft's engines reverberated through the hull as Lyra peered through the viewport, her heart heavy with uncertainty. The sight below was like nothing she had ever seen. Earth, a vibrant blue orb suspended in the inky blackness of space. It shimmered with sprawling oceans and vast green landscapes, a stark contrast to the ruins of her homeworld. She pressed her hand against the cool glass, trying to suppress the wave of emotions that threatened to overwhelm her. This was supposed to be her new beginning, a place to escape the tyranny that had destroyed everything she knew. But as the shuttle began its descent, the fear lingered. Would she be accepted here, or would she be met with the same hostility she had fled from? The landing was smooth, and soon the passengers disembarked into a bustling spaceport. Lyra clutched the small satchel slung over her shoulder, her fingers tightening around the only possessions she had managed to bring. Aliens of every shape and size shuffled around her, each wearing the same expression of exhaustion and cautious hope. Humans in bright uniforms moved among them, directing traffic and offering assistance. "Welcome to Earth," a gentle voice announced over the intercom. In multiple languages. "All new arrivals. Please proceed to the immigration terminal for processing." Lyra followed the stream of refugees, her senses overwhelmed by the mix of unfamiliar sights, smells, and sounds. The spaceport was enormous, a chaotic hub of activity where humans and aliens worked side by side. She saw towering insectoid creatures haggling with merchants, reptilian beings studying maps with human volunteers, and children from different species playing together, their laughter echoing through the wide halls. For the first time in a long while, Lyra felt a flicker of hope. Maybe this place really was different. She approached the immigration terminal, where rows of gleaming kiosks stood beneath holographic signs welcoming newcomers. A human attendant with kind eyes and a warm smile gestured her over. "Name?" he asked, tapping on his tablet. "Lyra," she said softly, her voice tinged with hesitation. The attendant entered her information and handed her a small identification card. "This will serve as your temporary ID while we finalize your papers. You're assigned to Sanctuary City District 4. You'll find your guide just ahead." "Thank you," Lyra murmured, clutching the card like a lifeline. She stepped through the checkpoint and into the sprawling welcome center beyond, her eyes wide with wonder. It was like stepping into another world, a place where alien architecture merged seamlessly with human design. Towers of glass and steel stretched toward the sky, interwoven with organic structures that pulsed softly with bioluminescence. Parks filled with strange alien flora lined the streets, and the scent of spices from dozens of food stalls filled the air. "Lyra?" She turned to see a tall human man with sandy blonde hair approaching, a tablet tucked under his arm. His friendly demeanor put her at ease, and the badge clipped to his chest identified him as Marcus, Refugee Assistance Coordinator. "Welcome to Earth," he said warmly, extending his hand. "I'm Marcus. I'll be helping you settle in." Lyra hesitated for a moment before shaking his hand, grateful for the kindness in his voice. "Thank you," she whispered. They began walking through the city streets, Marcus explaining the resettlement process as they went. "We're a sanctuary planet now," he said, gesturing to the vibrant city around them. "Earth's leaders decided to open our borders to anyone fleeing oppression or conflict. It's not perfect. We're still figuring things out, but we're trying to build something better." Lyra listened quietly, taking in every word. As they passed a park filled with alien families enjoying the afternoon sun, a pang of longing tugged at her heart. She had lost everything, her home, her people, but maybe, just maybe, she could find a new beginning here. They reached a small apartment building nestled between two gleaming towers. Marcus handed her a keycard. "This is your temporary housing," he said. "It's not much, but it's safe. I'll check in with you tomorrow, and we'll start working on getting you set up with a job." Lyra nodded, clutching the keycard tightly. "Thank you," she whispered again, the words barely audible. Marcus gave her a reassuring smile. "You're not alone here, Lyra. We're all in this together." As he walked away, Lyra stood in the doorway of her new home, gazing out at the city that stretched before her. The sun was setting, casting a warm golden glow over the alien architecture. For the first time in what felt like forever, she allowed herself to believe that maybe, just maybe, things could be different here. She stepped inside, closing the door behind her. The hum of the city faded into the background, replaced by a quiet sense of peace, and with that, Lyra knew her journey on Earth had only just begun. Lyra awoke the next morning to the soft hum of her apartment's ventilation system. For a moment, she was disoriented, forgetting where she was. The sterile, unfamiliar surroundings were a stark contrast to the cramped bunkers and dim-lit shelters she had grown accustomed to on her journey across the stars. But then the memories flooded back. Earth, the spaceport, Marcus, and the vibrant city outside. She sat up, the weight of her new life settling on her shoulders. A soft chime from the door broke her reverie. Lyra rose and crossed the small apartment, opening the door to find Marcus standing there, a warm smile on his face. "Morning, Lyra," he greeted, holding up 2 cups of coffee. "Thought you could use a pick-me-up." She took the cup gratefully, nodding her thanks. "I still can't believe I'm here," she admitted, stepping aside to let him in. "It's overwhelming." "That's understandable," Marcus replied, leaning against the wall as he sipped his coffee. "It takes time to adjust, but you'll find your way. Earth might be different, but it's a place where people, no matter where they're from, can build a life." Lyra took a cautious sip of the warm drink, the bitter taste surprising her but not unpleasant. "What happens now?" she asked, her voice tinged with uncertainty. Marcus smiled and tapped his tablet. "Well, I've already got a few things lined up for you. We'll start with a tour of the city, and then I'll introduce you to the community center where other refugees gather. It's a good place to meet people and get a feel for life here. After that, we'll talk about jobs and any other assistance you might need." Lyra nodded, feeling a mix of apprehension and curiosity. The idea of meeting new people was daunting, but she knew she couldn't isolate herself. She had to try to integrate, to build a life here. As they stepped out into the bustling streets, Lyra was once again struck by the sheer diversity of the city. Humans and aliens alike walked side by side, their differences blending into the fabric of everyday life. The air was filled with the sounds of alien languages and earthly chatter, creating a harmonious symphony of cultures. Marcus led her through the streets, pointing out landmarks and areas of interest. "That's the intergalactic market," he said, gesturing to a sprawling plaza filled with colorful stalls and vendors. "You can find almost anything there: food, clothes, tech from all across the galaxy. It's a great place to experience different cultures." Lyra's eyes widened as they passed by a stall where a towering alien with shimmering, translucent skin was selling intricately woven fabrics that glowed softly in the light. She paused for a moment, mesmerized by the craftsmanship. "It's beautiful," she murmured. The alien vendor noticed her interest and waved, offering a friendly smile. "Would you like to take a closer look?" Lyra hesitated, but Marcus gave her an encouraging nod. "Go ahead." She stepped forward, running her fingers over the delicate fabric. It was cool to the touch, and the threads seemed to shift and shimmer with her movements. "The cloth of my people," the vendor explained in a soft, melodic voice. "It changes color with emotion, reflecting the wearer's feelings." Lyra felt a pang of longing as she thought about the fabrics and art of her own people, things she might never see again. She nodded her thanks and stepped back, letting Marcus guide her toward their next destination. The community center was a modest building, nestled between 2 larger structures. It was a hub of activity, with aliens of all shapes and sizes gathered inside. Some were chatting in small groups, while others were helping distribute supplies or organizing events. "This is where a lot of refugees come to connect," Marcus explained as they entered. "There are support groups, language classes, and even cultural exchange programs. It's a great place to meet others in your situation and build a network." Lyra's gaze swept over the room, and she felt a flutter of nervousness. Would they accept her? Would she find her place here? Before she could dwell on the thought, a woman with bright blue skin and long flowing robes approached them. She smiled warmly, her silver eyes sparkling with kindness. "Welcome," she said in a soothing voice. "I'm Nira, one of the coordinators here. You must be Lyra." Lyra blinked in surprise but nodded. "Yes, how did you know?" "We hear about all new arrivals," Nira explained with a gentle laugh, "and Marcus mentioned he'd be bringing you by today. It's always wonderful to see someone new." Lyra felt a warmth spread through her chest. The kindness of these strangers was overwhelming, and for the first time since arriving, she began to feel the first stirrings of belonging. Nira led them deeper into the center, introducing Lyra to various groups and individuals. They met a family of insectoid refugees from the Orion cluster, a group of aquatic beings from the depths of a distant ocean planet, and even a few humans who had dedicated their lives to helping the refugee community. As they talked, Lyra began to relax. She shared stories of her homeworld and listened to the tales of others who had fled war, oppression, and devastation. There was a common thread that united them all: the desire for a new beginning, for safety, and for a place to belong. By the time the afternoon sun began to dip toward the horizon, Lyra felt a sense of camaraderie with the people she had met. They were different from her in so many ways, but they all shared the same hope. As she and Marcus left the community center, Lyra glanced at him, her voice quiet but steady. "I think I can do this," she said. Marcus smiled. "You already are." That night, as Lyra stood on the balcony of her apartment, looking out over the glowing city below, she felt a sense of peace that she hadn't known in years. Earth was strange, new, and full of unknowns, but it was also a place of hope. And for the first time in a long while, she felt like she might just have a future here. Her journey was only beginning, but Lyra knew one thing for certain: Earth had given her a chance at something she thought she had lost forever: a home. Over the next few weeks, Lyra began to settle into life on Earth. The adjustment wasn't always easy. There were moments when the unfamiliarity of everything threatened to overwhelm her, but each day brought new experiences, connections, and opportunity. She found herself growing more comfortable, not only in her surroundings, but within herself. At the community center, Lyra became a familiar face. She joined a few of the support groups, where refugees gathered to share their struggles and triumphs. Listening to their stories, she found strength in knowing she wasn't alone. Others, like her, were learning to adapt to a world that was both foreign and promising. One afternoon, Marcus invited her to join him at a job fair being held at the center. "It's a good way to explore your options," he explained as they walked through the bustling hall filled with booths representing different Earth industries and initiatives. "We've got people from all walks of life pitching in to help refugees find jobs. Businesses, NGOs, even research institutions." Lyra wandered the fair, feeling overwhelmed by the sheer variety of opportunities. There were booths offering training in agriculture, construction, engineering, and even the arts. One display featured a series of holographic landscapes, showcasing Earth's growing network of interspecies agriculture projects. It was an impressive effort to combine human and alien knowledge to create sustainable farming techniques. At another booth, she found a group promoting environmental restoration programs. They were focused on using alien biotechnologies to heal ecosystems damaged by pollution and climate change. Lyra marveled at how Earth's people embraced collaboration, weaving alien expertise into the fabric of their world. As she moved from one booth to another, Lyra's attention was drawn to a small corner booth staffed by a team of researchers. Their display featured maps of Earth's oceans, accompanied by projections of biodiversity restoration efforts. Lyra found herself captivated by the idea of working with marine ecosystems, something she had always dreamed of on her home planet. She approached the booth, where a middle-aged woman with graying hair smiled warmly. "Hello, interested in ocean restoration?" Lyra nodded. "Yes, I've always wanted to work with ecosystems like this." "Well, you've come to the right place," the woman said, handing Lyra a pamphlet. "We're looking for volunteers to help with coral reef regeneration. We've been using bioluminescent algae from the Dralax species to rebuild reefs and attract marine life. It's a challenging but rewarding field." Lyra felt a spark of excitement for the first time since arriving on Earth. "I'd like to volunteer," she said, her voice filled with determination. "Fantastic! We'll get you started right away," the woman replied, jotting down Lyra's information. "Welcome aboard." Later that evening, Lyra shared her news with Marcus over dinner at a local cafe. The small restaurant was bustling with people, humans and aliens alike, sharing food, conversation, and laughter. "That's incredible," Marcus exclaimed, his eyes lighting up. "You're going to do great, Lyra. And it's exactly what this city and this planet is all about. Everyone finding their place, contributing to something bigger." As they ate, Lyra noticed how seamlessly alien customs had blended into everyday life on Earth. At the next table, a group of humans and Andarian refugees were sharing stories over bowls of steaming noodles. Across the room, a band composed of musicians from different worlds played a fusion of Earth jazz and alien melodies. It was a vibrant, living mosaic of cultures, each piece adding depth and richness to the whole. The longer Lyra observed, the more she realized that Earth's strength came from its willingness to embrace differences. The planet wasn't perfect. There were still challenges and tensions, but the people here made a conscious effort to build bridges rather than walls. In the days that followed, Lyra threw herself into her work with the ocean restoration team. They traveled to coastal regions damaged by pollution and overfishing, where they worked to restore balance to the fragile ecosystems. Lyra found solace in the rhythmic tasks of planting coral fragments and monitoring marine life. It reminded her of the simpler joys she had known on her home planet before war and oppression had forced her to flee. Her team welcomed her without hesitation. They came from all walks of life, scientists, volunteers, and refugees like herself, each bringing unique skills and perspectives. They worked long hours, often under challenging conditions, but there was a sense of shared purpose that kept them going. One afternoon, as Lyra floated just beneath the surface of the ocean, she marveled at the growing reef below. Bioluminescent algae shimmered in vibrant hues, attracting schools of fish that darted playfully through the coral branches. It was a breathtaking sight, a testament to what could be achieved when people, no matter where they came from, worked together toward a common goal. Later, as the sun dipped below the horizon, Lyra sat on the beach with her team, watching the waves lap at the shore. They shared stories around a small fire, their laughter mingling with the sound of the sea. For the first time in a long while, Lyra felt a deep sense of belonging. She wasn't just surviving, she was living, and she wasn't alone. The challenges weren't over. There were still obstacles to overcome, both for herself and the people she had come to care about. But Lyra knew that she was part of something greater than herself. Earth had become a beacon of hope, a place where refugees could rebuild their lives and find purpose. As she stared out at the endless expanse of ocean, Lyra felt a profound gratitude for this new beginning. Earth wasn't just a refuge, it was a home, and it was worth fighting for. Despite the progress being made on Earth, not everything was smooth sailing. As more alien refugees arrived, the challenges of integration became more apparent. With the influx of diverse beings came misunderstandings, cultural clashes, and logistical hurdles. The government worked tirelessly to meet the needs of the growing population, but it became clear that even Earth's best intentions would be tested. Lyra witnessed the tension firsthand. One evening, while walking through a bustling part of the city, she saw a heated argument erupt between a human street vendor and an alien merchant from the Zaldrin species. The dispute over trade space escalated quickly, drawing a crowd. "You people don't belong here!" the human vendor shouted, slamming his fist on his cart. "And yet your planet opened its doors to us," the Zaldrin merchant snapped back, his reptilian frills bristling in anger. Before things could spiral further, a peacekeeper, a member of the new interspecies patrol unit, stepped in to de-escalate the situation. But the incident left a bitter taste in Lyra's mouth. It was a reminder that not everyone welcomed change with open arms. Back at the community center, Lyra attended meetings where other refugees shared their frustrations. Many felt overwhelmed by the pace of integration. Some humans, especially in smaller communities, struggled with the rapid cultural shifts. There were whispers of protests brewing, fueled by fear of the unknown. "You can't expect a world to change overnight," Marcus said one evening, sensing Lyra's unease. "But change is happening, even if it's messy." The challenges weren't limited to everyday life. Political factions across the planet debated how to manage the refugee influx. Some feared that Earth's resources would be strained beyond capacity, while others worried that differences between species could lead to conflict. While many humans saw the refugees as allies and friends, a vocal minority warned of alien interference and demanded tighter restrictions. Amid these rising tensions, Lyra found herself grappling with doubts. She knew firsthand how hard it was to adapt to a new world, but she also understood the importance of unity. Earth's future depended on people learning to trust one another, despite their differences. One evening, as Lyra and Marcus shared tea on the balcony of the community center, she voiced her concerns. "What if it's too much?" she asked softly. "What if Earth can't handle this?" Marcus leaned back in his chair, gazing out at the vibrant skyline. "Earth's been through a lot. Wars, pandemics, climate disasters, but we always find a way forward. This isn't the first time we've had to adapt, and it won't be the last." His words gave Lyra a measure of comfort. Earth's resilience was evident in its people. Humans weren't perfect, but they were adaptable. They thrived on challenges, often turning them into opportunities for growth. It was a trait Lyra had come to admire deeply, but tensions continued to simmer. News reports highlighted protests in several cities, with small groups rallying against alien immigration. The protests were peaceful, but they revealed a deep undercurrent of fear. Fear of the unknown, fear of change, fear of losing what it meant to be human. At the same time, the alien communities faced challenges of their own. Many refugees struggled with the trauma of displacement. Some found it difficult to navigate Earth's bureaucracy, while others grappled with homesickness for worlds they would never see again. There were moments when even the most well-meaning humans struggled to understand the depth of these losses. One night, Lyra attended a gathering of refugees from Andromeda. As they shared their stories around a small bonfire, she realized how much pain still lingered beneath their hopeful exteriors. They spoke of lost families, ruined homes, and the constant fear that had driven them to seek refuge on Earth. "It's not easy," an older Andromedan said, his voice weary. "But at least here we have a chance to rebuild." His words resonated with Lyra. Earth wasn't perfect, but it offered something that many refugees had thought they would never find again: hope. Determined to bridge the growing divide between humans and aliens, Lyra threw herself into community projects. She organized workshops that encouraged dialogue between species, inviting humans and aliens to share their cultures and learn from one another. These small efforts began to make a difference, fostering understanding and empathy. One day, Lyra invited Marcus to a cultural exchange event. It featured traditional Andromedan music, food, and storytelling, as well as Earth traditions that showcased the planet's diverse heritage. As they watched humans and aliens laughing together, dancing, and sharing meals, Lyra felt a flicker of hope. Moments like this reminded her that, despite the challenges, people were capable of extraordinary kindness. Marcus grinned as he handed Lyra a plate of Earth snacks. "See, we're figuring it out, one step at a time." But Lyra knew that progress was fragile. It would take more than good intentions to overcome centuries of mistrust and fear. Still, she felt encouraged by the small victories she witnessed every day: a kind gesture, a shared laugh, a helping hand. Earth was becoming more than just a place of refuge. It was becoming a symbol of what was possible when people came together, despite their differences, and Lyra was determined to help it succeed. The protests intensified, and tensions between humans and aliens reached a boiling point. But instead of crumbling under the pressure, something remarkable happened. Communities across Earth began to push back against fear and division with a message of unity. Lyra stood at the heart of these efforts, working tirelessly with Marcus and countless others to organize peace rallies and open forums where humans and aliens could voice their concerns. Leaders from both sides came together to address misunderstandings, crafting policies that encouraged collaboration instead of conflict. It wasn't perfect. Progress was slow, and setbacks were common, but the people of Earth refused to give up. One of the defining moments came when Lyra was invited to speak at a global summit hosted in one of Earth's most iconic locations, the rebuilt United Nations building in New York. Representatives from human nations and alien species gathered to discuss the future of Earth as an interstellar sanctuary. As Lyra stepped onto the stage, her heart pounded. She looked out at the sea of faces: humans, Zaldrun, Andromedans, and dozens of other alien species. The weight of the moment was not lost on her. "This is not just about survival," Lyra began, her voice steady but filled with emotion. "It's about belonging. Earth has opened its borders to us, not just as a place of refuge, but as a place where we can rebuild our lives and dreams. But it's up to all of us, humans and aliens alike, to make this work." She paused, gathering her thoughts. "Our differences may be vast, but so are our shared hopes. We all want to live in a world where our children can grow up without fear. We all want to find purpose and meaning in our lives. And most importantly, we all want to belong." The room was silent, hanging on her every word. Earth's strength isn't just in its technology or its resources. It's in its people. People who know how to endure, how to adapt, and how to extend a hand to those in need. The audience erupted into applause, a thunderous wave of support that sent chills down Lyra's spine. In that moment, she realized just how far they had come. Earth was no longer just a home for humans. It was becoming a beacon of hope for the galaxy. Following the summit, initiatives to integrate aliens into Earth's social fabric gained momentum. Schools and universities opened their doors to alien students. Businesses hired refugees, and cultural exchanges flourished. Humans began to see the aliens not as threats, but as neighbors, friends, and colleagues. Lyra and Marcus continued their work, helping to establish interspecies communities where cooperation and mutual respect thrived. These neighborhoods, blending alien and human architecture, became vibrant hubs of innovation, art, and culture. They weren't without challenges, but they were proof that unity was possible. As the years passed, Earth transformed into something extraordinary, a place where beings from across the galaxy found not just refuge, but belonging. The planet's cities glittered with alien technology and human ingenuity, creating a new kind of beauty that reflected the diversity of its inhabitants. Lyra's efforts did not go unnoticed. She was awarded Earth's highest honor, not just for her role in fostering unity, but for reminding the world of what it meant to stand together in the face of adversity. One evening, as she stood on a balcony overlooking the city skyline, Marcus joined her. The stars glittered above them, a reminder of the vast galaxy beyond. "Can you believe it?" Marcus said, leaning on the railing. "We actually did it." Lyra smiled softly. "It wasn't easy, but nothing worth having ever is." They stood in comfortable silence for a moment, watching as humans and aliens moved through the streets below, their laughter and conversations blending into a harmonious hum. It was a sight Lyra had once only dreamed of, a world where differences were celebrated, not feared. Marcus nudged her playfully. "So, what's next for Earth's favorite ambassador?" Lyra chuckled. "Rest. Lots of rest." But even as she spoke, Lyra knew that the work would never truly be done. Building a better world was an ongoing effort, requiring patience, empathy, and an unyielding belief in the power of unity. But for the first time, she felt hopeful about the future. As the moon rose over the horizon, casting its silver light over the city, Lyra took a deep breath. This was home. And together, with humans, aliens, and everyone in between, they had built something beautiful, something worth fighting for. The stars above reminded her of how vast the galaxy was, but it no longer felt lonely. Earth had become a light in the darkness, a place where anyone, no matter where they came from, could belong. Because on Earth, everyone had a place, and that was only the beginning.